Former President Biden is reacting to the death of Pope Francis. As the first Catholic president since John F. Kennedy, Biden met with Pope Francis several times during his presidency. Shortly before leaving office, he awarded the pontiff with the Presidential Medal of Freedom with Distinction, the highest civilian award given by the president. In a statement on the Pope's passing Monday, Biden said in part, quote, he promoted equity and end to poverty and suffering across the globe. And above all, he was a pope for everyone. He was the people's pope, a light of faith, hope, and love. John McCarthy joins us now. He's served as a senior political advisor to former President Biden and was the president's liaison to the Catholic Church. John, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Tell us more about how the pontiff engaged with U.S. policymakers.
One of the lessons that I think Pope Francis has really taught policymakers here in the United States is that at the end of the day, you have to listen and always find ways to engage even when you disagree. This is something we saw early on in his pontificate and then through to his final days. Just this past weekend, after being critical of the Trump administration's stance on migration and immigration, he still sat down with the vice president. If you look back historically, he sat down with pro-choice politicians with whom he publicly disagreed. But he always ensured that as Pope, he sat down and found a way to kind of listen and find ways to work together.
In 2013, just a few months after being elected Pope, Pope Francis famously responded, "Who am I to judge?" when asked about gay priests and his views on LGBTQ inclusion, the changing roles of women, and COVID-19 vaccination. These were all topics not everybody was in favor of, not all Catholics in favor of. In your view, did he seem unafraid of paving a new path?
Pope Francis was certainly a reformer, but at the end of the day, really what he was a Catholic. The Catholic Church does not fit neatly into any political box. It's not Democratic, it's not Republican. It's really there to teach a kind of moral way forward for its followers. So what Pope Francis really did was change the tone of the church. He refocused the church onto those on the margins of society and those who often felt left out, and that will be one of the most significant things that he's remembered for.
Once the conclave has begun, what do the cardinals discuss and what names are already being considered?
Well, tomorrow the cardinals will meet and discuss the path forward as they plan conclave. But one of the things that's important to remember is that a lot of these cardinals don't actually know each other. They're in their individual countries and regions, ministering to their flocks. But it's not necessarily a close-knit network in the way that you might imagine. So they'll first gather for a mass where they'll pray for the invocation of the Holy Spirit to help guide the church. But ultimately, they're going to be looking for someone who probably follows the model of Francis. In many ways, Pope Francis was kind of a lone wolf. He was someone who was, a reformer in that way. But I think that people will be looking for someone who follows his kind of pastoral nature, but maybe someone who works, more closely and is of the curia. But it's important to remember that Pope Francis has appointed almost 2/3 of the electing cardinals who will participate in conclave.
So you're thinking that rather than choosing somebody who may go against everything that he tried to do, they may choose someone who sort of, I don't want to say furthers his mission, but at least doesn't undo everything he did.
We often try and think about these things as issues of doctrine, but really what they are is about a priest and the people that they're trying to serve. And I think that it has been a major service to the Catholic Church to have Pope Francis at the helm in a way where he was able to connect with people who felt left out. I think that as the cardinals gather, that's certainly something that they're going to be looking for. But again, this is a process that is ancient and ritualistic, and they'll certainly be looking for spiritual time and reflection as they look to guidance for the Holy Spirit on this.
John McCarthy, thank you.
Thank you for having me.